Counting by 7's, chapter 48 and 49. Our two words today are palindrome, which means it's a word, a phrase, a sentence, etc. That means all other things. Where you read it, it reads the same forwards or backwards. Like race car, if I read it forward, it says race car. If I start from the back and read, it also says race car. The next word is pragmatist, which is a practical person. Chapter 48. Big news. My binder worked, and the bank has given Del Duke the go-ahead to do the garden conversion. But the letter, which is from the senior vice president's office, has additional information besides the legal permission to take up the rock pile. Someone over there at North-South Bank is on top of things because the letter states, taking the initiative to improve the property as a renter shows a commitment to the values we at North-South Bank hold dear. We have never, in the history of the bank, seen such a thorough proposal. Therefore, Mr. Duke, in addition to granting you permission to plant a garden in the central, uncovered atrium, we have made the decision to ask you to be the building representative for the Gardens of Glenwood. I don't think anyone ever asked Del to represent anything before. He looks like he won the lottery. It's a strange combination of being wildly excited and deeply afraid. I'm wondering now about his parents. Maybe as a toddler he was locked in a woodshed in a cold climate for extended periods of time. He appears to have just been let out. Looking at him as he reads the letter a sixth time aloud, I realize he's sort of weeping. I assure him that being the building rep is a big honor that he richly deserves. The next thing I know, he's down in the garage putting a sign in front of the best parking space in the open carport. It reads, "Reserved for building rep, Del Duke, Unit 28. I guess he doesn't just get what being of service means. Now that we have permission, the plan can be executed. It's Saturday, and we're all here except Patty, who has the most customers on the weekends. I asked Quinha how he would suggest we remove the red lava rock. I'm secretly thinking he might want to get involved in all of this. He isn't remotely interested, but apparently he got something out of Tom Sawyer, even if he didn't read it or write the paper on Mark Twain. He only says, give the rock away. People love anything they think is free. This strikes me as accurate. I go down the hall to discuss the idea with Del. Sadhu is there in the living room. He's a lot nicer to me since I made Del a computer. He has even asked my opinion on a few technical things, and I'm allowed to borrow his 15-watt soldering gun. When I explain to Del what my plan is to give away the rock, Sadhu says, list it online. It will be gone before you know it. I post an offering of free lava landscaping rock. I say that if you can haul it away, you can have it. Only 7 minutes later, I get my first response. Quinha appears to be right. The idea of something for nothing is appealing in some visceral way. Even if free things are never free, the burden of ownership means everything has a price. I think that's why really rich and famous people look so weighted down and glum in most photos. They know that they have to keep up their guard. They have things other people want. I have said that the red rock is on a first-come, first-served basis. Before I know what's going on, I have 4 different people over here fighting over this stuff. The lava rock enthusiasts scare me. Since Del is now the building rep, I make him go down and deal with it. I have no idea what he says, but May and I hear all kinds of shouting. The important thing is that in 2 hours, all of the rock is gone, and so is the ripped black plastic sheeting underneath. I say that it was also free. We all head downstairs. Even Quinha wants a look, and we stare at the newly exposed dirt. What remains is only the hard, packed ground. It's not even brown. It's dusty gray. Maybe the construction crew dumped a few leftover bags of concrete on their way out. I guess everyone is thinking the same thing, but Quinha is always the one who gives the unspoken a voice. He says, "Nothing's going to grow here." Patty has just come home from work and she seems more worn out than usual. She stands with us and stares at the big rectangle of nothing. Finally, she adds, "It's a bigger looking space when it's not covered with rocks." Dell chimes in, "And a bigger project than anyone thought." Patty sighs and starts up the stairs. Most things are. I don't want to be crushed, but it's possible they are talking about me, not the ugly, exposed area that is now the centerpiece of the courtyard. May puts her hand on my shoulder and she says, "Let's go eat. Everything looks better in the daylight." It looks even worse in the full sun. I go downstairs early and it's only me and the dirt, which I now realize has a gritty top, like someone sprinkled coarse sea salt on a gray cracker. Even if I got everyone in this entire complex to join me here with garden tools, I don't think we could make it happen. Plus, I've only seen a few of the other residents, and they don't look like people who would want to swing a pickaxe. Regular soil is a crazy mix of everything from fine rock fragments to water, air, insects, and even bacteria and fungi. It's all necessary. I remember the first time I looked under the microscope at a pinch of dirt from my own backyard. It was a shocker. Now, as I think about this open space, I know what has to be done. Deep tilling of the soil isn't a good idea unless you are facing the kind of ground we have here in the gardens of Glenwood. But this situation calls for heavy machinery. We have to rent a rototiller. I can't do this myself for all kinds of reasons, not the least of which is that you have to be 18 years old to even legally operate the equipment. I go back upstairs, and when May wakes up, I explain the situation. She doesn't look like she has any idea what I'm talking about, even when I clarify that a rototiller is a machine with sharp blades that mechanically chop soil. But she understands something because she says, "So we need an adult, a credit card, and a car?" Dell wants no part of this. May has done a lot of talking, but it's the resident from Unit 11 who makes the difference. A guy named Otto Sayas, I would give anything have a name that was a palindrome, knocks on the door. He wants to know what's happening with the big dirt patch in the courtyard. Otto Sayas doesn't look very happy because his unit opens right up onto the future garden site. I'm guessing from his attitude that he didn't have a problem with the patch of red lava rock and weeds. Dell has to talk to the guy because he's the building rep. I hear him explain. It's all going to be planted. You'll see, we are right in the middle of the project. I catch sight of Otto Sayas, and he's still scowling. He barks, "Nothing in the world will grow here." Then the magical part happens because Dell sort of puffs up and says, "You just wait and see." Chapter 49. A rototiller is like a jackhammer, but for dirt, and we get one. Quinha doesn't come to Sam's you rent on Saturday because he is going bowling. I had no idea he was a bowler, but maybe that's how it is with bowling. You do it, and then you leave it behind. I think Dell would have liked to go bowling instead of to Sam's you rent, but he's agreed to do this. The machine we rent requires real upper body strength to operate, especially when it's attacking hard ground, so only Dell can use it. Dell's pretty doughy around the middle, and his large stomach vibrates as if it's been put in a can and shaken at the paint store in one of those mixing machines. But the good news is that the solid ground really gets pulverized. The bad news is that Dell is probably going to be too sore to walk for a week. I investigate the newly tilled soil downstairs in the future garden. At dinner, I share the good news. I tested the soil and it is neutral. The pH is a perfect 7. May and Patty and Dell look up from their food. Quinha keeps shoveling with his fork. Plants, like people, thrive when there is balance. So when the soil is too acidic, which can be thought of as sour, you should lower the pH factor. You can do this by adding lime. When the soil is too alkaline, which can be thought of being too sweet, you need to add sulfur. I explain this, but I can tell that it's not a spellbinding discussion for the people I live with. Dell says, "Did you taste this soil to find out?" I can't tell whether Dell means this as a joke or not, but it causes Quinha to laugh. I realize that whenever he laughs, it's some kind of relief. It's like a dam bursting. Patty says, "That's great, Willow." Quinha then mutters, "What's really being measured are ions of hydrogen." He seems as surprised as I am at his own statement. He puts more spicy sauce on his pork, looking guilty, as if learning something in science class is a crime. Table silence. May then says, "And 7 is your favorite number, Willow?" I don't explain that I don't count by 7s anymore, but I do still appreciate the beauty of the number. I'm thinking that everyone will get more involved tomorrow when we do the planting, and I find I'm really looking forward to that. There was an X factor, an unseen or unknown influence. We went to sleep with a large rectangle of newly tilled, well-balanced soil in the courtyard where we lived. It was a thing of beauty, at least to me. But the Santa Ana wind blew in the middle of the night. This happens here. Certain conditions propel a stream of dry air from the mountains to the shoreline. We wake to a dust bowl. I have never seen such filth. The walls and the windows of the first floor units are covered in a layer of newly ground dirt. I go upstairs and I stare. It's as if a grime tornado hit the place. After I show Dell, he limps to the garage and yanks down the building rep parking sign. He doesn't want anyone to know where he lives. Dell is so sore from his rototiller experience that he can barely move. Or maybe he's just that upset about the dirt damage. He wraps himself in a blanket, lies down on the floor of his apartment, and closes his eyes. He looks like a mummy. I would like to take a picture, but I decide it's not appropriate. May has a plan. She puts up a large sign downstairs. It says, "Construction project underway. Apologies for inconvenience." I feel like we should tell Dell what we're up to, but May says to leave him alone. May then gets her mother to drive Dell's car to Sam's U-Rent, where we return the rototiller and now rent a power sprayer. May and Dell have different approaches to everything in life. May is the ultimate pragmatist. Maybe she gets that from her mother. Power sprayers are powerful, hence the name. I haven't been around one until now, so this is all new to me. We get back to the gardens of Glenwood and May goes upstairs and puts on her new, used, raincoat. She bought the designer jacket when I got my running shoes and I thought it was a waste of money. Now, I wish I had one. Quang Ha comes downstairs when we're just about to get started. Maybe because the rental equipment resembles a machine gun, he looks interested. Quang Ha wants to try pressure spraying. He fires up the engine and it's as if he's holding an Uzi. The force of the water takes a lot of strength to control. A river of grime falls. I watch from a distance and it takes some time before I realize something else is happening besides the cleanup. The pink paint underneath the dirt is also being removed, and so is the bumpy stucco coating. This is all demonstrating the theory of connectedness. Not mathematically speaking, but in a real-world way. Removing the lava rock and black plastic liner exposed the hard-packed dirt. Once that was tilled and the wind